Can you hear that queen noise over my rooster? Anyway, these two queens are about to find new homes, so follow along. Alright, the weather's horrible today, as you can see. However, I have to get in my beehives a little bit because I have two new queens I'm introducing, and I want you to follow along with me while I do this. So, a couple things regarding queen introduction. I have had some failures in introducing mated queens. First off, yes, today we're introducing mated queens. These are first of the year mated queens from a local queen breeder that I really like working with. A couple of things as far as backdrop goes. I have been raising my own queens this year so far, so you might be asking why I am buying queens. So the reason why I'm buying queens is for genetic diversity. So I bought some Carniolan queens. I don't have but a couple, and I wanted to get a little bit more, and because I like them. First off, I like them because they're beautiful and black, and I love black queens, and they do well in the winters here and whatnot. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just introducing some genetic diversity. And one of the things that I do, let me kind of go back. I don't want to lose these girls, so I want to put. Not every situation's perfect when you're introducing queens, but sometimes you have the possibility, the opportunity to stack the deck in your favor. So today I'm doing that. The weather's not the best day for it, but it doesn't matter. I'm doing it anyway. So a couple things that I'm doing to stack the deck in my favor. Number one, nurse bees. Nurse bees are always more ready and willing to accept a new queen. So yesterday, when I was pulling some nukes for a couple people, I took out a couple frames of brood, and I've made two nukes. Each one got 2 frames of brood, and I moved it to a different location, shook in some extra bees, and I thoroughly expect that the forager bees flew back to the original location. The nurse bees stuck around to take care of the brood, because that's what they do. So, with that being said, I'm fairly confident that both little nukes that I made up for these girls are going to be ready. Secondly, I put a frame of food in there, and I also put an empty frame and a foundation frame in there. So the empty frame will allow the queen immediately to start laying in the case that she doesn't have any capability to lay. Okay, so those are a couple of important things. So basically, the configuration of the nuke that I made is 2 frames of brood, 1 frame of food, an empty drawn comb, 1 empty drawn comb, and a foundation frame, and a couple extra shakes of nurse bees. So I'm pretty confident. And I did this yesterday. So I did this in the afternoon yesterday. So it's probably been about 20 hours now, 18 to 20 hours since these bees have been without a queen. All right. Now, if you let them go much more than this, they'll start making their own queen. Right. At some point, they move away from, hey, we got separated from our queen, let's fan to get her back. And then they move to the realm of, okay, well, we don't have a queen, it's time to make a queen. So that's kind of something you need to think about. So I like anywhere between 6 to 24 hours. I think it's great at that point to introduce a mated queen. So that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is feed. As soon as I made those nukes up yesterday, I put a jar of sugar water on them so that they're feeding and they're content. I want them to be happy. Okay, so there's that part of it. To me, the other, probably the third and probably most important part of this is the queen condition. The reason why I love working with this local queen breeder is because I pick them up at 10:30. She pulls them at 10 o'clock. So this queen was in the hive laying at 10 o'clock, right? I picked the queens up at 10:30, and it's now what, 11:30, noon, something like that. This queen has not had time to transition over to a non-laying queen. You know what I mean? So her pheromones are not going to scream, this queen isn't laying. Her pheromones are screaming, this is a good mama queen who can lay some eggs, right? That is always more attractive to the bees, to nurse bees, right? So that's important, and I find that to be the most important thing. I just don't have as much success putting bees in that have shipped or have been not laying for 2 or 3 days. When you buy a queen from somewhere else and they ship it, you don't know how many days a lot of times that queen has been banked or whatnot. And sure, she can start laying again, that's not a problem, but you got to be very careful about how you introduce her. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce this queen. I'm going to let them make their own nuke, build up their own nuke. And then I've got a number of colonies that I'm requeening right now. And if they don't take, then I can add her in. We can just do a combine at some point here in the next month if we need to. And we'll be good to go, and she'll be off and rolling. But I'm pretty confident about this strategy. Basically, she's got her nurse bees in there. You can see she's in here. There's a sugar candy in here. She'll be out in probably a day and a half. So today is Sunday midday. By Tuesday morning she'll be out. They'll be happy. And there's a hair. I don't know if they'll like the hair, but anyway, so this is all I'm using, a little JZBZ with full of candy, right? And so that's it. Queenie's getting about ready to go in. I have these little special inner covers that I made myself that have about a 3/4 inch gap. I'm just going to set her right on top and walk away. That's it. And then I'll go back in probably 3-4 days just to make sure she's doing fine. And that's it. I can't think of anything else to share with you, but that's my strategy. I wouldn't consider myself an expert on this, but I definitely have some good and bad experiences. And so last year I bought some queens from this same young lady. I made splits, and she pulled them out of the nuke while I was standing there, put them in a cage. I brought them back, and they had only been queenless for 4 hours, and by the next day, probably day and a half, they were already out laying. In fact, they were already laying in a day and a half. I went in there and there were eggs. So they really took to her well, or took to both of them well. So I've been very happy with this process. I really don't care to order queens anymore. I'll probably do it from now on, but if I order queens anymore, I'm going to use push-in cages. That's just it. I've lost too many queens otherwise. Anyway, so we're going to go add these these queens now. I'm not going to remove the nurse bees. I'm going to leave the nurse bees in there. I am not worried about that, personally. All right, that's it. Follow along. All right, it's raining now, which sucks. But here's the first colony that I am going to intro in. As you can see, I got the feeder on. I'm going to pull this top box off for right now. I'm going to put that back on. And this little box, I put some tape over this spot, but anyway, so what I'm going to do is very carefully, I'm going to lift this up, okay? And I'm going to try to be really nice to the girls. And you can see I got pretty small nuke. Seems like I lost a good amount of bees in it yesterday. I'm going to take one of the queens and I'm going to put her in there. I'll set the phone down for 1 second. And then we're going to see how they take to her, and you can see they're already starting to show interest. That one looks like it's interested in feeding. Now they're starting the parade. Word's getting out. So far, I haven't seen anything that looks like aggression at all. I see they're tending to her so far. I think I lost more bees out of this one than I expected to. It's not quite as many bees in here as I had thought, but that I put in there. What you don't want to see though, oh, see there's some fanning. See that fanning? The fanning is really a good sign. What you don't want is curled butts. When you start seeing curled butts like stinging, like when they're stinging, that's not good. But feeding is fantastic. So far, yeah, there's the fanning going on. So, but when you've been stung by a bee and you see the curled butts, you know what that's like, and that's no bueno. So let's okay, that looks pretty good to me. So we're gonna button this one up now and let them finish. Alright, we'll come back and see how they did. I like to wait 4 days. This way you can check for eggs. Yeah, because it takes 3 or 4 days for eggs to hatch. So we'll do it that way. Alright, we'll move on to the next one. Alright, here's the other one. A little bit of an issue trying to do this with one hand here. And this one I'm going to have to do from the front, I think. This is my package. These are April packages with 2 deeps, and they've been bearding for 2 days. Both of them have been, so pretty impressed with that. Alright, so now we're going to pop the top on this one. Right here. So you can see we have about 2 frames of bees at the most here. And we're going to take our queen. Well, you haven't been able to see yet. So far, just tending. You can see the march is on. And I think they're liking what they see. I don't see any aggression whatsoever. Fanning has started, so that's always good. I think we're going to be good to go here. Except, I don't think we have enough bees in these. I'm a little concerned about that, so I'm going to have to work on that part. But we'll see. Alright. Anyway, that's about it. Thanks. We'll come back in 4 or 5 days and just check on them in the next warm day. Take care.